Somewhere in America right now, someone is signing paperwork on a car they think is perfectly fine. Clean title, no accidents. The Carfax looks great. 6 months earlier, that exact car was sitting in 4 feet of floodwater in a parking lot in Houston. The engine was full of muddy water. The insurance company looked at it, decided it wasn't worth fixing, and legally declared it dead. A total loss. And yet here it is, reborn. Title says clean. Nobody in that dealership showed you was underwater, and technically, in a lot of cases, nobody broke any law getting it there. There's an entire industry built around this exact loophole. It runs through massive car auctions most people have never heard of. It exploits the fact that all 50 states disagree with each other about what a wrecked car even is. And every single year, it quietly puts hundreds of thousands of dangerous, previously destroyed vehicles back on the road, sold to people who have absolutely no idea. This is how a totaled car gets laundered back into your driveway. Let's follow one from the moment it dies. When your car gets seriously damaged, a bad crash, a flood, a fire, an insurance adjuster does some quick math. If the cost to repair the car is close to or more than what the car is worth, the insurer doesn't fix it. They total it. They pay you out, and in exchange, they now own the wreck.
Oh, hell no!
So what does an insurance company do with hundreds of thousands of wrecked cars a year? They don't have tow lots. They're not in the car business. They need someone else to store it, catalog it, and sell it off, fast and for the best possible price. That job is almost entirely controlled by 2 companies, Copart and Insurance Auto Auctions, usually just called IAA. Together, these 2 run something like 80% of every salvage yard in the country. Copart started in 1982 in Vallejo, California, founded by a guy named Willis Johnson, who'd grown up around his family's junkyard. His idea was simple. Instead of every salvage yard running its own little disorganized local auction, build one company that could do it everywhere, consistently, at scale. Photograph the car, catalog the damage, put it up for bid, take a fee. It worked. By the 1990s, Copart was public. By the 2000s, it had moved auctions entirely online, so a buyer in Georgia could bid on a wrecked SUV sitting in a lot in Arizona without ever seeing it in person. Today, the company handles millions of vehicles a year and is worth tens of billions of dollars.
Billions and billions and...
Built almost entirely on cars that were declared legally dead. And here's the part that matters for the rest of this story. Once a car lands in one of these auctions, it isn't scrap, it's not crushed. Anyone, licensed dealers, rebuilders, exporters, and in a lot of states, regular members of the public, can bid on it and buy it. Which means a car that was declared too damaged to be worth fixing can absolutely end up back on the road. That part, by itself, isn't the scandal. Rebuilding a wrecked car and selling it honestly, disclosed, inspected, properly retitled, is completely legal. And plenty of legitimate small businesses do exactly that. The scandal starts with one specific piece of paper, the title. When an insurance company totals your car, the state is supposed to stamp a permanent mark on that car's title, salvage. Sometimes flood, sometimes junk, sometimes rebuilt. Different states use slightly different words. The point of the stamp is simple. It's a permanent warning label. Anyone who looks at this car's paperwork forever should know what happened to it. Here's the problem. There are 50 states, and every one of them runs its own separate Department of Motor Vehicles, with its own separate rules for what counts as a total loss, how strict the brand has to be, and, critically, whether that brand survives if the car moves somewhere else. Some states are strict. If your car gets branded salvage, that brand is permanent, no matter where the car goes afterward. Other states have historically been much looser. A car with murky paperwork could get re-registered there, and if the clerk processing it didn't have access to the right records, the new title that came out the other side would say one thing: clean. This is called title washing, and notice what it actually requires. Not forged documents, not a hacked database. Just moving the car on paper to a place where the record keeping has a gap. That's it. That's the entire loophole. A total loss flood car gets bought cheap at a Copart or IAA auction in one state. It gets shipped, sometimes literally driven, sometimes hauled on a truck with a dozen others, across state lines. It gets retitled somewhere with weaker cross-checking, and when it comes out the other side, the paperwork simply doesn't mention what happened to it. The car itself hasn't changed. The water damage, the corroded wiring, the airbags that may never have been properly replaced. None of that goes away. Only the paperwork changes, which means the danger is completely invisible to the next buyer.
I'm in danger!
There is a system that's supposed to stop exactly this. It's called NMVTIS, the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System, a federal database meant to let every state see a car's full title history, no matter which state issued which title. On paper, it should have ended title washing years ago. In practice, it's helped a lot, but it hasn't closed the gap completely. Reporting lags, some older salvage records never made it in, and cars that moved through the system before certain states fully participated can still slip through with a clean-looking history on paper, even though the full truth exists somewhere in the data if you know to dig for it. Which is exactly why an entire consumer protection industry now exists just to catch what NMVTIS misses. Vehicle history report companies, state investigators, and more often than you'd think, ordinary people who bought a car, took it to a mechanic, and heard 4 words that ruined their week. This car was flooded.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
This isn't a hypothetical. Local news investigators in multiple states have caught this happening in real time. Reporters obtaining vehicle records and finding cars that were branded junk or flood damaged in one state, only to discover the exact same vehicle identification number carrying a spotless, clean title 2 states away, sold to someone who had no idea. Think about what that actually means for the person who bought it. They didn't do anything wrong. They checked the title. It said clean. They may have even paid for a vehicle history report, and depending on what data that report pulled from, it might have said clean too. And then months later, something goes wrong that shouldn't. Electronics start failing for no clear reason. Classic sign of corrosion from water damage that was never properly repaired. Or worse, the car is in an accident, and an airbag that should deploy doesn't, because it was quietly swapped or never replaced correctly after the first wreck that supposedly never happened.
No.
This is where the story stops being a curiosity about paperwork loopholes and becomes a genuine public safety problem. The National Insurance Crime Bureau and multiple state attorneys general have flagged title washing as a persistent ongoing issue. Not a solved problem from the past, but something actively happening on used car lots today, and the financial damage compounds it. A washed title doesn't just hide danger, it destroys resale value the moment the truth comes out. Buyers routinely discover, only after trying to sell or insure the vehicle, that its clean title was never really clean at all. And by then, the paper trail often loops back through several owners, none of whom necessarily knew either. Here's what makes this genuinely uncomfortable. In a lot of these cases, nobody in the chain necessarily set out to commit fraud. A dealer might buy a retitled car in good faith, with a clean title in hand, and have no way of knowing its real history either. The system doesn't require a mastermind. It just requires enough small gaps, repeated often enough, across enough state lines. So if there's a federal database specifically built to stop this, why does it keep happening?
Why?
Part of the answer is scale. Every year, hundreds of thousands of vehicles get totaled in the U.S., and that number spikes dramatically after major disasters. After Hurricane Katrina, after Hurricane Harvey flooded Houston in 2017, after Hurricane Sandy hit the Northeast. Each one of those events pushed tens of thousands of flood-damaged cars into the salvage pipeline almost overnight. That volume completely overwhelms the honest system. Adjusters are moving fast. Auctions are processing thousands of vehicles a week, and in the chaos immediately after a disaster, cars that should be permanently branded sometimes slip through before the paperwork catches up. Not because anyone's necessarily hiding it, but because the sheer volume creates gaps for the people who are looking to exploit them. Part of the answer is also, frankly, incentive. A flood car with a branded salvage title might sell at auction for a few $1,000s. The exact same car, cleaned up, detailed, and sold with a washed clean title, can go for 2 or 3 times that, sometimes more. That price gap is the entire business model. It's the reason this industry exists at all.
$80,000, do you want it? $80,000 into the net. When you pay it, you want to give 75, 75, 75, 75,000, 70 paid and 75,000.
And part of the answer is jurisdiction. Every state DMV is its own island. Federal agencies can build a shared database, but they can't force 50 separate state bureaucracies to check it with the same rigor, staff it the same way, or prioritize it the same way. Some states have tightened their processes significantly in the last decade. Others still lag behind, and title washing operators know exactly which ones. There's also a quieter, more legal cousin of this whole practice worth knowing about: curbstoning. That's when someone, often technically unlicensed as a dealer, buys up damaged or troubled cars, does just enough cosmetic work to make them presentable, and sells them directly to unsuspecting buyers off the street or through classified ads, deliberately avoiding the dealer paperwork trail that might otherwise flag the car's history.
Gotta keep going. What am I gonna do, quit? That's not an option. You gotta keep on keeping on.
It's a related but slightly different hustle, working the same basic idea. Exploit the gap between what a car looks like and what its paperwork actually says. So knowing all this, is there actually a way to protect yourself? Genuinely, yes, and it's simpler than you'd think. A vehicle history report is a start, but not a guarantee. As we covered, some records genuinely have gaps. The more reliable move is pulling a report directly tied to NMVTIS data specifically, since that's the system designed to catch cross-state title history that other reports sometimes miss. Beyond that, there are physical tells that are worth knowing. Water lines or silt residue in places that should never see water, under the carpet, inside the seatbelt mechanisms, behind the dashboard. A musty smell that heavy air freshener can't quite cover. Mismatched bolts or overspray on panels that suggest recent bodywork nobody's mentioned. None of these prove fraud on their own, but any one of them is a reason to ask harder questions before you sign anything. And maybe the simplest tip of all, if a used car's price feels meaningfully below what similar cars are going for, that's not always a lucky find. Sometimes it's exactly the price gap we talked about earlier, the gap between what a salvage car is worth and what a clean one sells for, with you unknowingly funding the difference. So that ordinary-looking car from the start of this video, it's not rare. It's not some elaborate criminal conspiracy with a mastermind behind it. It's the predictable result of 50 different states, a genuinely massive industry moving millions of wrecked cars a year, and one very simple, very old idea. If the paperwork doesn't follow the car, the danger doesn't either, at least not on paper. Next time you're standing in a dealer's lot, looking at a suspiciously good deal, you now know the one question that actually matters. Not, what does the title say, but where has this car actually been? If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We have more videos like this one coming each week to uncover everything. If you have something you want to uncover, let us know in the comments.